So, Westone Thunder 1A. This is my pal Wayne's. I think he might be selling it actually, because he recently bought, since he gave me this one to fix up, he's bought another one. It seems to be very blue today. Don't know. Something to do with lights. Yeah, so Thunder, I've never actually played a Westone Thunder guitar before. I've done a few reviews and I've had a few shots of fixed up a few of the bass version of this. There's a bass 1 and 1A as well. But so this is the first actual Thunder guitar I've ever played. It's very good. It's exactly what I expected, to be honest. I do have that, which is a Prestige, which as you can see is a similar colour. It's got a trem. It's just like it's a slightly more expensive model. Yeah. So what you've got here is Gibson scale, so it's 24 3/4 inch. A Gibson SG type neck, whatever's on my SG special from the 90s. This is sort of where it's going. Yeah, so it's, although it looks like it's got the through neck thing with these stripes on it, it's just a bolt-on neck. The battery cover, it's through strung like a Telecaster. Hardtail bridge. This is a slightly later model. This is, I'm looking up, if you look up WestoneGuitars.net, it's brilliant. It's got lots of stuff on it and all the different models and stuff. And I found out this one, if you look, I don't know if you can actually see, but see it's got white Westone logos, like this sort of eagle thing on the pickups. This one does have them, but maybe if I can hold it, if I get the angle right, they're kind of worn off, but they are there. As I said in the video, I'm kind of trying to mix things up a bit, so I did a bit more talking about this in the car, so you've probably already seen that. Hey YouTube, I'm out and about again. I'm dropping off a couple of guitars, 4 guitars to be honest. So I'm off to Uddingston and then Strathclyde Park because I'm dropping off the fancy Koa top Epiphone that I set up, the one with the crazy Bixby type thing on it, and the Jazzmaster. Both of them are going to one guy, and I'm meeting my friend Scott, a lovely guy who unfortunately lives quite far away in East Kilbride, and I have had his Jacksons for months now, to the point of I can't actually remember what it was I did to them. I think one of them I seem to remember had a broken tone pot, and the other one, I think I fitted treble bleeds on it, or I rewired it or something. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm just filming this just now because I'm out in the car, and I figure when I'm out in the car I'll take the GoPro. Hey, yeah, so last night I had a wee bit of a breakthrough with Wayne's Westone Thunder 1. I was very happy about it. I did it in one of my what's in the box clickbait things last week. He bought I think he traded for a Westone Thunder 1A, and the wiring was all over the place. It was basically wired as this guitar should have a volume and a tone. Both are push-pull. One of them's a coil split, one of them's a phase reverse switch, and then another tone pot which is to do with the active circuit, and a 3-way switch and an on-off switch, and all of that was all bypassed, and instead the last tone control had been wired as a single volume control, and both pickups were put straight on it. So although the guitar was making a sound, it was giving you, the only option you had was volume, which was on a tone pot, so it didn't work very well, and both pickups on. So now I've gone in and I've changed all the wires that actually run to the pickups, because the ones that were on it were sort of held together with sellotape, and the active bit, the active circuit board was actually in the case with the bag. It was kind of pretty old looking. Some of the tracks I had to repair, but I managed to get it working. So I'm going for a really good confidence rating with active circuitry these days. That's been a good 3 or 4 guitars I've bought that I've managed to repair. You know, the ancient 80s active circuit. The active circuit doesn't look like that much. There's a chip in it. There's not that many components in it. You know, maybe 20 or something like that. It's a very similar, if not exactly the same system as what's in my Aria laser bass, which I also managed to fix. So it's 2 9-volt batteries, runs on 18 volts, and what it does does is it gives you, when you turn it on, it's a bit of a boost. It's not a huge boost, but a boost. It's like a better switch. I'm just doing the talking bit of this video just now. I'll actually play the guitar and I'll edit it in. And that extra tone pot, so it's got like a normal volume, a normal tone, and then it's got the extra active one, which is a centre indent pot. And in the middle, it kind of is just a boost. And if you turn it up the way, like up to 10, it's a sort of treble boost. And if you turn it down to 0, it's a bass boost. So it's kind of like, it's a boost that the knob controls which part of the frequency it boosts. Sounds pretty good. I managed to put the coil splits back in again as well, so it gives you the hum cancelling coils. I think it's the neck most of the neck and the bridge most of the bridge. And I put the phase switch in as well. The phase switch I did it the way my Westone Concord is wired, but instead of just knocking the whole pickup out of phase, you knock one of the coils of the humbucker out of phase with the other coil of the humbucker, which in theory gives you more sounds, because it means that you can be just on the bridge pickup on its own, hit the phase and it does something, and it also does something when you're in the, you know, in all the other positions as well, but it doesn't do anything in the neck position, obviously. It's got the 3 adjustment screws so you can tilt the pickup, so I have got the pickup sitting exactly in line with the strings, which is a nice thing. This one I reckon is a 1985 or 1984 one, which is kind of getting towards the end of the Matsumoku era. There's questions, or not arguments, but I have discussions with my pal on the Washburn Golden Era page about it. This one doesn't, normally they say a Matsumoku product on the neck. This one doesn't, so I don't know. One of the reasons that we're talking about that was because it's got the 3 height adjustment screws, which Westones don't normally have. But I think they've been stuck on later on. I think, as I said in the video in the car, I think someone's actually done this as an improvement on it. So they've kept the pickups, but they've put in the adjustable sides. They've taken the backs off some other guitar. So it might still be Matsumoku. So it's possibly this is not the original neck plate. When my pal was talking about maybe they were outsourced to someone else, but I don't think so. I think it's just a Matsumoku one. It doesn't have the logoed tuners either, so these are either replacements or this era didn't have logoed tuners. Normally they look exactly the same as the normal tuners, just that normally they've got the Westone W on them. And if you look up the timeline on that website, I'm just going to talk quickly for 2 seconds and I'll go on to playing it. What year was this one? This is a 1986 Thunder 1A, has different pickups with the Westone logo. Coil tap and phase switches are push-pull switches. Pickup selectors are different position. Steel bridge, I think some of the earlier ones are brass. 3-way switch, passive active coil tap and phase switches. Volume and active passive tone controls. So it's not exactly that one, because that one's got a different logo in the headstock. This has got the earlier logo. The same logo that's on the Prestige, which you can't see there, but you just have to trust me that it is. So maybe 1985, 1986 for this thing. So if it's 1986, and I think we're talking about the last year. I don't think in 1987 there are some Westones, Japanese Westones. My Clipper 6 was one of them. It's like a Telecaster, and there's one called a Pantera, which actually there's one on Facebook Marketplace just now, and it's like kind of tempting. Don't really know much about it, but that's the sort of the very last of the Japanese Biko. And then the Singer Sewing Machine Factory, who they also worked for, pulled their contracts, and then Matsumoku closed. It didn't burn down in a fire like you read online everywhere. There's an awful lot of stuff online everywhere. See the number of people that still argue about the fact that these, you know, the Washburn, the Matsumoku made Washburns. Matsumoku never made any Washburns. Yes, there's lots of things online that say they do, all stemming from one article that's wrong, but that's, talk to the guy who actually built them, and no, they were made by Yamaki. So internet's a funny thing. Gradually over time, more and more things coming up. This is pretty well represented on that Westone site. You can kind of find whichever guitar you've got. I mean, okay, this exact one isn't there, but it's basically this with a different logo. So there was obviously some sort of transition phase when they were using up the last these logos before they moved on to the next ones. Yeah, so Thunder 1A, we've got volume control, master volume, master tone. This is a centre indent pot for the active bit. 3-way switch, does what you expect. This is a dual coil split, which splits them both down into single coils, and this reverses the phase of one of the coils in the bridge pickup, and this turns on your active. I can't remember which way round I put it. So, wee bit of a sound demo then. So, humbuckers, everything up full. That'll be the active switch. I'll turn that on in a minute. So that's, yeah. So just normal sound. So, wee laney, come through that speaker, mic there, no effects. The sort of Gibson-y sounds. Bridge. Neck pickup again, neck pickup single coil, bridge single coil, both in single coil. So even just using the non-active circuitry and using the coil split, you're already sitting there talking about, I mean, what this must have done. Okay, this is a 1985 or 1986 version, but when this came out in 1981, it must have been absolutely earth-shattering. The fact that you could do sort of Fender-y and Gibson-y and be good at both those things. Yeah, so if I go to the bridge pickup and hit the tone control, which I mentioned in the video in the car, it reverses one of the pickups, one of the coils in the bridge pickup. So it's very thin, almost sounds broken. Very phased. And one of the reasons I thought it was broken was you put it, if you coil split it, well, it's got to be fighting against something for the phase to actually work. So although the pickup we're listening to is still phased, if there's no other pickups on, it doesn't sound phased. So there you go, phased, but that gives you in the middle position. We've now got both of these on as humbucker and phased. So as opposed to and then phased. So that's a useful sound. I'm not sure how useful it is when you listen to the single pickup on its own, but and if I coil split them both, it means that you're out of phase. Instead of just so it's this coil out of phase with this coil, very thin again. Yeah, back in the full humbucker mode. Obviously the active boost will make a bit of a difference. So we're listening to the neck pickup on that with the in humbucker mode. Active boost on, which, let's be honest, has double the volume of the guitar. Actually, I wonder if maybe see if you're actually on the bridge pickup and phase, which I said was dead thin. Yeah, but the active sort of helps it there. Makes quite a big difference that. So we're now on bridge pickup with the active boost on. And this, as I said, this is a centre indent pot, so just now it's just flat. If you turn it down the way, it's a bass boost.
how much this is coming through on the mic, but it's much, much louder when you've got the active support on. And then obviously all the permutations of what I was saying there all work in active. I've talked for 10 minutes, I'm not in a jam yet. Let's get the jam on the go. Pedal on now. The normal tone control works as well as the active thing. Both single coils. Bucker in the bridge. So I mean, it plays absolutely stunning. I think, as I said, I think this might be for sale. I don't think this guitar's ever been played. These frets look pretty much absolutely mint. I wonder if there was maybe an issue with the electrics many years ago, and whoever it was, it didn't work, therefore they didn't play it, and then somebody at some points had a go at trying to fix it and failed. I did have to redo one of the tracks on the actual circuit board because it wasn't working, so I could feasibly see how the active stopped working. There's a track that runs across it to connect the two batteries together. This is 18 volts, so it takes two 9-volt batteries. What else was I going to say? See, if you're looking in the video, it looks like there's a worn bit here. See that bit there? These are often quite worn because it's quite a thin sort of varnish, but that's actually just in the grain. It's not actually worn. So look at the fantastic wood this is made of. I assume it's ash, but it's very, very figured. Look at it. And look at it there, it's like your pancake construction, so it's one piece in the back, one piece in the top, and then the 3 stringers in the middle. I mean, look at the wood it's made of. That's actually an extra piece there as well, isn't it? It really is, it's fantastic. You don't get guitars that look like this anymore, especially not relatively cheap. It's also the classic Matsumoku 3-piece neck. You can sort of see it there. So you've got the middle bits, you know, the centre piece will be the grain will be running in one direction, whereas this bit and this bit will be running in the opposite direction, which means it's much less likely to warp, and it's a totally great solid idea for building guitars, a genuine improvement over normal guitars. You don't get that now because the original 50s Fenders didn't have that, so you can improve it or you can see it looks like it's a worn bit there. It's not, it's just the way the light's hitting that bit. This thing's in very, very good condition. So if you're talking about bang for your buck guitars, which I often talked about, I did my best cheapest starting guitar that's easy to get for me was the Yamaha ERG 121, which are pretty cheap. If you've got a little bit more money, I did a video yesterday for a Pacifica, which are better than the ERG, just kinda everything's just a bit better. That's kind of a bit more expensive, and you're now talking about maybe up over 100 quid. These used to be, you can find these really cheap if you're lucky. But to get one in decent condition, I think you're now up at 200-300 odd. But for that, they're so worth it. Really, I mean, there's arguments you can have over this being better than. I don't know. To get a guitar better than this now, if you're buying new, you're maybe not $1,000, but you're up in the sort of 700-ish type areas to get just of this quality, not this this look. It does have its own vibe, which actually really I like the shape. I think this is a great shape. Maybe it's just grown on me because I'm used to looking at that one on the wall, but it's kind of a bit of everything, slightly different, and they're not that hard to find. You will, if you look on eBay, you will see a few folks selling Thunders. As I said, I might not have mentioned in the video, there's the one, which is basically this but without the active circuit. There's the 1A, which is this one with the active circuit. There's a 2, which is a set neck, not a bolt neck, and then there's a 3, which is a through neck. That's one of the things that if I was going to be a little bit critical, I'm going to have to try and be critical about it. The fact that it's got these stringers on it makes it look like it's a through neck, right? And then you see it's only a bolt on, so it's a fake through neck. Ultimately, there is an argument for saying, well, you're kind of bolting, you know, the maple neck onto the maple part of the body, so it might actually be better than not having it this, you know, than just having a plain body. It's just, for me, it looks like it should be through neck, and then you look at it, you go, oh, it's not. If it didn't look like this, I'd have no issue with that. Apart from that, there's really nothing to fault with them. There's if you look on the WestoneGuitars.net, you can see the various ranges of them. This one, later on, has these knobs on it, which actually I always thought were plastic, but actually I'm pretty sure they're metal now. These are, see how they're kind of conical, they're thin at the bottom. That's because there were 4 push-pull pots. So look at 2 push-pull pots. For me, I would have probably put a third one in just anyway. But so they're easier to grip. So great system. 1984 was when Westone started, when they got they got push-pull pots. They're the same ones that are on the Prestige here. It's the same. It's the tone pots and that pop in and out. Before that, they had brass knobs and maybe 3. You see ones with 3 switches. Well, the 3 switches are just the coil split, the phase, and the active on-off. Must be maybe because this is a centre indent pot, they couldn't put the active on a push pull. So that's why it's just got its own one wee switch. So the ones you see with lots of switches are basically this. It's just a slightly later one, which instead of having the switches, it's got push pull pots. They also earlier came with various logos. There's definitely there's an original one which is kind of almost a sort of cartoony Westone logo you got, and then you get this one, and then whatever was on that, which is a sort of more of a sort of just a boring font. Basically, it just says Westone without the eagle logo thing on it. This one's in very good condition. The neck actually reminds me very much of my Aria Thor sound, which has got stuff sitting on top of it, so I can't show you that. But I mean, it's just the quality in this is ridiculous. Totally, absolutely white. It's probably the most important Japanese guitar ever made. There's definitely a point for arguing that anyway. I can't think what else you can say. Maybe the Yamaha SG, because they were they were kind of, it was like, well, we're going to make a Les Paul, but we're going to make it the same price as a Les Paul, but it's going to be twice as good. That one is one of the other contenders for the most important Japanese guitar. I suppose you're going to get folk that are going to argue, oh, the Fender Japan, all that stuff, but really this one, it's an original design. As far as an original design goes, it doesn't. What does it look like apart from looking like a Westone Thunder? It's got its own thing. There's elements of a Strat. It's got the chamfer on the top. It's got the cutaway on the back. So it's that element of it's kind of Stratty, but it's Gibson scale. It's got the two humbuckers. It's got the 3-a-side headstock. It's kind of like, it's somewhere in the middle. A couple of years later, after they brought out this one, well, I'm saying the original one, which is 1980 or 1981, they brought out one called the Concorde, which I've got a yellow one, which is the same body shape, apart from it's got like a Strat trim. Mine's the two humbucker one, but there's a 3 single coil one, and it's got a Fender headstock and Fender scale length. So they've got one. This is the sort of Gibson that does Fendery things, and they've got a Fender one that does Gibson-y things. Somewhere in the middle, if you prefer the longer scale neck. But if you're into Gibsons, I don't know how much you'd have to spend on like a Les Paul to get one better than this. A lot. The active thing's quite interesting as well. It's one of those switches that I'm not really sure it's one you would ever turn off. It sounds pretty good on its own. I suppose you could use it as like a backing for if you a boost for a solo, you can use it that way. It doesn't really make that much difference volume wise when you've got the distortion on like that. You get no control. And it's got sustain. Right, I'll do that. I'll leave that video at that just now. Rock on, everyone. I wonder if I managed to put that bit at the start. I hopefully did. Bit in the car just to give a bit of variety to things. So I'm not exactly 100% sure what's going on with this. It might be going back down to Colville, or I might be selling it for Wayne, or actually my pal Scott, who I was dropping guitars off earlier on, was saying, "Oh, Westone Thunder, really? How much?" And he asked me how the frets were, and I said I honestly can't remember because all I did was fix it last night. So now I've had a shot at it and look at it, the frets are pretty much mint. In fact, the whole guitar is pretty much, it's in amazing condition. Considering it's 35 years old, it's pretty amazing. These do tend to, because it's quite a thin veneer, you see a lot of these that people have tried to paint, or they've tried to sand them back. This one is nice because it's still got the original sort of sheen to it, but quite often these things are worn because it's quite thin, it gets worn through here or here. And if you're looking for a guitar that's just going to knock the socks off everything, you also, okay, say you've got an Epiphone Les Paul and you've got a Squire Classic Vibe Strat or Telly, whatever, you think, oh, what should be a third guitar? Get one of these and it'll absolutely blow the pants off both of them at whatever way round you want it. And they're findable on eBay, although you may have to pay a little bit more to get a nice one, to get one in good condition. But it's one of those things that, because, I mean, if you're talking about going to charity shops and junk shops and Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace, because it's a Westone, not a Fender or a Gibson, people just don't really know whether it's a good one or not. I should put a wee caveat in there that Westone, after like this one, sort of 86, 87, they went to Korea like all the other factories did, and I can't vouch for those ones. I've never played one, but going by whatever the Washburns and the Aria Pros and stuff like that, they did significantly drop in quality when they went to Korea. I'm assuming Westone did the same. Also, which I keep getting, a few of my pals have linked me to, Westone, the brand was bought at some point in the 2000s, I think, and they produced BC Rich copies. So there's like I had a Warlock one, and there's definitely a Mockingbird one, and they are nothing to do with this apart from they've got that logo on them. They are cheap. Rubbish. Well, let's not say rubbish. I mean, if you look up my videos, look up Star Sun, which someone only just told me recently. Star Sun's actually a factory in China. So I've got my girlfriend's got a Star Sun Mockingbird, so it's made of MDF. Actually, to be fair, I managed to get it working. It played really well, and she paid £6 for it. But with bits missing, that's what the modern Mockingbird and Warlock ones are. They're nothing to do with this. There's also a strange one in the middle, which was made in Britain, England somewhere, by Brian Poole, I think it is, called a Corsair, which is maybe not. It's not the most interesting looking guitar, and I don't know why they put Westone on the headstock. It seems like it didn't seem like the best move, but you can pick them up. They're not cheap. They're normally sort of 400 odd. I think the last time I saw one, I kind of want to buy one. It's just that they're not particularly interesting looking. They're kind of not as fancy looking as this, but I'd say made in UK, so maybe really good. Rock on.